Okay, we're gonna get started here. Okay, welcome to our workshop. Today is Tuesday. Miss Merina, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, just checking. Now I was seeing when you're ready, not ready. I need to call the meeting. I'm giving you a hard time. You won't let me here.
She's ready.
Okay, welcome to our workshop here. We got 3 items on our agenda for tonight. Human service, we're gonna get a report out from Sound Transit, and then the storm and sewer update. Miss Marina Hanson, please.
Okay. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. I'm going to be doing the presentation, but I also have Christine and Lori here in the audience who really, them along with the rest of my staff, Brittany Gaines, Brittany Levins, and Caitlin Jennings, did 99% of the work. So I'm just here sharing their successes for the most part. But we just wanted to provide you with a quick update of the application and review and allocation process that we're just now wrapping up, because you will be getting the funding recommendations in your budget book later this month. So we just wanted you to have the background information for what the process looked like, so that when you see those allocations, you know kind of everything that went into it. Just to provide kind of the groundwork, the Human Services Strategic Plan, you've all seen that before, but we just wanted to kind of go over it because it does provide the roadmap for our entire human services application process. It walks us through our investments over the 5 years of that plan. It identifies strategic partnerships, where we can leverage, where we can build partnerships, and make sure that we align our city investments with the plan. Our vision is that all Kent residents experience Kent as a thriving, sustainable, and inclusive community. And our vision really just gets to the how, and that's by ensuring access to opportunity and services that respect each person's unique experiences, so really meeting people where they are. Our guiding principles, I won't read them all to you. You've seen them all before as we went through the strategic planning process, but these guiding principles really do come into play when we are going through our funding review process. So these are the things that we're looking for when we're making those funding recommendations. We want to honor and respect diversity. We're really looking to build on the strengths of individuals, families in our community. We talk a lot about need in our realm, but one of the things we heard loud and clear from our community is it's not just about need. We all have strengths, and how do we build on those? And so that kind of goes hand in hand with moving people along that continuum of stability. We don't want to only invest in basic needs and some of the services that might be more Band-Aid in nature, but how do we also ensure that people can build that long-term stability in our community? And then, of course, we always value and promote collaboration and coordination. So maybe you're an organization that's been based out of Seattle and all of your clients are now in Kent. That's great that you've moved here, but who are you working with? We have a lot of agencies that are already here doing this work. Are you working with them? Are you communicating with them? We want to make sure that people are working together. Equity, we'll talk a lot more about this as we get further into the presentation, but really making sure that we're prioritizing and looking for inclusion and equity in all aspects of our services. We really want to make sure that we're investing in and working with nonprofit organizations that are both led by and serving communities of color. We learned a lot about disparities during the COVID-19 pandemic, and those are things that we're always looking for to ensure that our services are available and meeting people, those populations that are most impacted. Priorities and goals, I'm going to go through these next few slides pretty quickly, but during the strategic planning process, we heard from community. We used to have 5 or 6 priorities, but once we got through the community engagement process, we really had to shift those based on what we were hearing from the community in terms of what they saw as our needs. So these are the 4 that we settled on and are our main overarching priorities for our funding now. And a good start, we have 2 goals under this category. So not only are our younger children healthy and ready to start school, but how do we ensure that our older youth stay in school, are thriving, and are really developing that positive attachment to our community so that they stay in school. Healthy aging, we heard a lot from our community that people want to age in place and continue to thrive in Kent as they grow older. Individual and community well-being, this one is a big one, and we have 4 goals underneath it. One of the themes that we heard over and over was this concept of well-being, and we hadn't really talked about that in our prior planning documents. So when we really started to drill down into it, it wasn't just individual well-being, but it was really just the well-being of the community in general. So our goals reflect that need and that want from the community. So not only do people feel safe and included in the social, civic, and economic life in Kent, but they also have access to those basic safety net services when they need them. And beyond having access to safety net services, as I mentioned earlier, they really want to have the opportunity to improve their economic conditions. So we want to build assets for people and really improve their long-term security and place in our community. And then there was a lot of discussion, again, about access to resources to make sure that people have quality and physical, mental well-being in our community. So really having access to those services. And again, that's something that we saw a lot of elevated need for during and following the pandemic. Pathways to stable housing. This priority used to be kind of under the broader safety net category, but we heard so much from the community about this particular category that we ended up developing its own specific goal. And it does include both homelessness prevention services, so how do we keep people from needing shelter, but also housing assistance that will allow them to achieve and stay in stable housing. So it kind of covers the entire continuum of housing needs. And then back to our 2022 funding cycle. Just quickly, the cycle opened in March, and the funding application window closed at the end of April, and so during May, June, July, and August, it was really that staff and Human Services Commission and guest reviewer time where we're spending a lot of time together going over the applications received, rating those, and doing those allocation recommendations. Again, we did this during the last cycle, but we also consulted with Lunas Consulting to do 2 trainings with our commissioners, with our staff, and also we had 5 guest reviewers participating from the community in this process this time as well. We did a pilot process last year where we invited 1 community member in who had never really participated in a review process before, and it went really well. So we did that again. Just it helps ensure kind of some new faces, new eyes on the process, people who haven't been involved in it before and can really just give us a lot of unique perspective. So those meetings with our consultant focused on equitable grant making, racial equity, what that current state of philanthropy looks like, not just within cities, but with foundations. And we talked a lot about current best practices. We reviewed the equity review tool, and then also actually went through the process of reviewing a sample application so that commissioners were learning about how to do all of these things and recognize implicit bias, but also going through the process with the consultant to make sure that they felt comfortable actually putting those tools into practice. And I think just that doing it with somebody that is there to answer questions and help out really gave our commissioners and reviewers a lot of solid foundation when they got their own batches of applications and went through to review those. This is just kind of an overview, general data about how the process went. So we sent out funding announcements to over 500 organizations, including a Kent-specific contact list that had over 250 on it. We published notifications online, and we also announced it in meetings, lots and lots of meetings. There were 4 application workshops leading up to the process. We publicized 6 technical assistance sessions for anyone that was interested that were specific to those who are applying to Kent, so that they didn't have to call and make an appointment. They knew when those would be available, and they could just jump on Zoom and connect with a staff person and ask questions. We had staff available by email and phone throughout the process. They met with over 40 organizations, which is pretty huge. There was a lot of people who took advantage of the technical assistance. At the end of the day, we had 121 applications submitted. Nearly $4 million was requested, which is a record, kind of a smashing record. Our commission went through the funding process initially, recommending 59 programs for a total of nearly $1.5 million. It was a little more than they had to review, but because we had some additional funding pots available, staff went through an additional process kind of after that, where we looked at their recommendations and what funding pots we had available and kind of figured out a way to honor the commission recommendations. So we were able to do that, which is great. We have actually 11 new programs recommended for funding, which is fabulous. We're always happy to add new partners. If you'll recall, following our last application process, we consulted with an outside group to do an analysis, an equity analysis of the application process overall. So we wanted them to take a really deep look at not just our actual allocation process, but also how we announce the applications, what's in the applications, how do people get assistance. It was a very comprehensive review. So I just wanted to come back to you and share some of the things that changed during this application as a result of that. So we did, over these last 2 cycles, expand the time that the application's open. So we're giving people more time to get help and be able to fill in the application. We, in Kent, developed a new web page on our site that's very specific to the grants and the funding. So instead of it kind of being buried on a page with a lot of other information, there's one site that people can go to and get all the information. We also expanded our outreach and increased our number of announcements that were going out. So lots more outreach into the community, using email lists and listservs that we haven't used before, really trying to get it out wherever we possibly could. As I said, we did increase the amount of technical assistance that was available. So this time we held a workshop really early, back in September, that was specifically designed for organizations who've never applied before, or maybe some who have applied but have not successfully been funded. So it was very specific and very basic, walked through the entire process, everything that they would need to apply, and really just set them up, hopefully, for earlier success and understanding, where they could start gathering documents like months in advance if they wanted to apply. I didn't do it, but staff recorded short instruction videos for each element of the application and made those available on the Share One app portal. And part of that was we were hearing from organizations that they're not necessarily comfortable asking staff for assistance with the application. So they maybe don't want us to know that they don't understand what a performance measure is, or they're just not comfortable coming directly to staff. So we felt that if we recorded these instructions, everyone had access to them whenever they wanted to look at them. You know, if they had follow-up questions, they could absolutely come to staff, but it also was really just kind of an easy thing for us to do to make sure that people all had access to the same exact information too. So whether you were comfortable going to staff or not, you could still go in and review these modules and hopefully get a really good understanding for how to fill out your application. We also provided a Word document version of all of the application questions for working offline. Just understanding that just the Share One app portal itself can be a little bit overwhelming for people, but if you have the list of application questions, you can start just plugging those in and then copy and paste them into the application itself when the time comes, and it feels a little easier for some folks. And we also partnered with Auburn and Federal Way to host a CDBG-specific workshop. So that's not something that we've done before, but there were a lot of questions that people had that were very specific to CDBG, and this allowed us to kind of provide a training for organizations, and then we had like a really robust question and answer where people could ask whatever they wanted specific to that funding pot. And then we also included a question about percentage of BIPOC leadership and board membership in the profile of the application this time, and added percentage of BIPOC staff in the application itself, just so we would have a better understanding of where organizations are at with that. The technical assistance that I mentioned, I think I already said that there were 41 organizations that took advantage of that. Most of it was via email and phone. 26 of those organizations had not been previously funded, so that's pretty huge. We were really happy to see that increased engagement from organizations we haven't funded before. 14 of those were BIPOC led by and or serving organizations. 7 were organizations that were new to us that we hadn't worked with previously and hadn't heard of. 8 of those organizations ultimately didn't apply to staff, and I went ahead and just kind of listed some of the reasons why, just so that you could kind of get an understanding of what might lead people to not apply. But one was not a nonprofit, one had a kind of questionable thing that we probably wouldn't be able to fund because they were working with private counselors. One at the time wasn't providing services in Kent. They were just talking about coming to Kent at some point, and that's kind of a tough sell. And then one said they just decided they weren't ready to seek grants yet. This might be a little hard to read, but following the Commission's initial list of recommendations, we did run a little short on time. We had a lot more applications to review this time, and we did do both of our meetings in person for our application review, which was new. We hadn't met in 2 years, so it was a lot of information to get through. And as I said, staff was really the one making the decisions in terms of funding source. That wasn't an added layer of complication that we wanted to put on the commissioners. So we took, if you look at our 21, 2022 allocations, those percentages on the far right are typically right about where we are in general in terms of where we are with our categories of funding, those priority areas on the left. Those aren't exact, but so we looked at where we were. We looked at the commission recommendations that they came up with initially, and then staff went through and looked at that percentage by category and kind of did a parity analysis to make sure that we were kind of on par with some of our organizations. So trying really hard not to just continue to give the same level of funding to some organizations and then bringing all of the new organizations in at $10,000, but really trying to come at it from, this is a service that you're valuing in our community, what's the right funding level, and not focusing so much on where organizations have been funded in the past. And so staff did shift some things around a little bit, and then we noticed that we had kind of started to defund some of our mental health services, which was a little alarming given what we know as a result of the pandemic, where a lot of our youth are right now, and some of our adults and families as well, like not wanting to disinvest in that area. And it wasn't something that the commission had like intentionally done. It was just where things had kind of panned out. So staff, we tweaked a little bit, and then we had a special meeting with commissioners so that we could talk them through any of the changes that we made, give them opportunities to ask questions, because at the end of the day, these decisions are 100% the commissioners to make, but we just wanted to make sure that they had all the information and were able to see that percentage by funding area that they weren't able to see in that meeting in real time. So this is where we ended up with that. And so we held that meeting August 23rd. It was publicized, so everyone had the opportunity to come and ask questions. We went through each and every adjustment that we had made. There weren't that many of them, and some of it was reducing funding because we were about $100,000 off at the end of the day. Commissioners did vote and approve the funding recommendations unanimously during that meeting. And as I said before, those recommendations will be included in your budget book, so you'll see those in a couple weeks. Right now, we're working with the mayor so that she sees the list, and then we'll start sending out all of those notices to the agencies as well so that they don't get surprised by it in the budget book. So we have like a compressed timeline to get through all that because we let the application cycle stay open longer. It kind of gets us into a bit of a flurry of activity at this time of the year. So we will continue to refine that funding source. We have ARPA funds at our disposal that we can fund some of these programs. A few with, they have to meet very specific guidelines for us, but there were a few that made really good sense to us. We're working with the mayor, with the CAO. Of course, we're at least pre-communicating everything to council tonight. And then, as I mentioned, we'll get those letters out to our organizations so that they know where they are at in the process. We will do another equity review of how the process went this year. We're going to work with our commission on what that will look like exactly. We're going to be working with our commission to develop an African American and Hispanic community population specific research and investment plan. This is something we've been talking about for a while because despite our efforts, we do run into the challenge of knowing that there are organizations out there that are doing really good work in our community and serving, 20% of Kent's population is Hispanic, yet we get very few applications from that community. So just trying to figure out where the disconnect is and how we can bring more of those organizations in to apply for funds. We did bring 4 African-led organizations in to talk with the commission a couple months ago, and again, we have more work to do in that area, basically. We did make headway in this application. I don't want to make it sound like we didn't, but it's something we want to continue to build on. And then we will start drafting contracts and negotiating those scopes of work that are based on the actual funding that the organizations are receiving. We will work on their performance measures, and those will be reported to us, as you know, on a quarterly basis. So at that, I will let you ask questions.
This is a real comment for the mayor, for Mayor. Hey, the process you put is really solid. I think the process is really solid, what you guys put in place, and I like what you have shown us. Quick question, so there was 59 total applications, like you said, 48 was returnees, right? And 11 was new, right?
11's new. And we're actually going to be funding 64 organizations. So we did add a few in based on the fact that we felt we had really disinvested in the mental health services. And yeah.
Okay. So the 11 that is, I get it, thank you. So the 11 that was new, was any of those BIPOC? Do you know?
Yes. Actually, 6 of them are BIPOC-led or serving. And then there are a few others that most of their staff and the population they're serving are, but maybe not completely meeting the. And
I'm assuming some of those are also returnees as well, too.
Those are all new, of the 11.
I know, but.
Oh, yes, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, cool.
Correct.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, I'll let you go real quick, please.
Thank you, Council President. I first want to say thank you, Merina, and to the whole team for the purposefulness of this process and the fact that we are staying true to the strategic plan and meeting the needs of the community. So I am grateful for that. I'm going to now do my very best to channel Councilmember Michaud. She is unable to be here this evening, and when I talked to her, few things family emergency wise going on, but the thing she said is I wanted to be there to make sure to tell Human Services and the Commission how grateful she is and thankful she is for the process. So she would say a lot more than that. I don't want to, she sends her heartfelt thank you for all the work that's being done. And as the chair of Parks and the council liaison to the Human Services Commission, she gets a firsthand look into all the work that's being done. So she's got a very deep appreciation for that and the process and where you ended up. So thank you on behalf of Councilmember Michaud.
Thank you. Yeah, we love having her. She's a very strong participant. She reads all the applications. She's right in there. She really dedicates a lot of time to the process. So we would thank her back if she were here tonight.
Awesome. Councilman Thomas, followed by Core.
Thank you, Mr. President. Merina, excellent presentation. Really like this, and the fact that you handed these out, because I can't always see very good up there, so especially when the numbers get smaller. So thank you very much. I do have a question or concern on your, what is the 5th point there, drafted African American and Hispanic community population specific. Are we leaving out the Asian population of Kent, the largest minority in Kent?
No, I don't believe so. We really did look at, we're looking at kind of the demographics of Kent, the demographics of the organizations that we're serving, and who we are currently funding, and these are specifically where the gaps are. So we do have organizations serving the entire community of Kent, but I do not feel like that is a current gap of where we are with our current funding.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor McCord.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Marina and team, and thank you for this amazing presentation and all the work you put into this. I appreciate that. My question is, and I mean, the process is amazing. I just kind of, out of curiosity, how were the community members identified and invited to be part of the panel? And
I should have had Lori come up here for this one. So do you want to come up and share? Because you did all the work. I could, it was Lori. No.
Good evening. Thank you for your question. Primarily, we looked for people that were very involved and engaged in the community, that brought an expertise by age, gender, race, or expertise because of their work. So we then set out, we actually asked around 10 people and had 5 people say, yes, I'm interested in doing that. And honestly, part of it is that we're finding a lack of people interested in the human service profession, particularly at the planner level, and I want to introduce young people to these city jobs. We also had a couple of people that have been very critical of the processes that we've done in the past, and we wanted to help them understand what the process was and thought by being a part of the process, it might help them answer to the community and just even reconcile within themselves about this process, and it was successful. So we did have a number of people that are more interested and have actually come to more other meetings and events that we've been doing because they now feel like, oh, now I understand what this process was. So multiple ways. So people, staff at the school district, leaders in the nonprofit community, chamber, just a variety of people came to the process.
Any other questions? See nothing lit up here. Once again, great presentation. You and your team done an awesome job. I think we as council members are really impressed about what's going on with your team. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just want to point out, we did have one other staff join us, and because she's new to the city, I just wanted to point out and introduce you all to Brittany Gaines. Brittany took Dinah Wilson's position, and she is our CDBG coordinator. She did her first public hearing for the CDBG annual action plan this afternoon and ran it like a champ. So we're just very excited to have her, and I wanted you all to get to see her and know who she is.
Britt, welcome. Welcome. Look forward to having you present as well, too. So glad to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Okay. We're going to move on to Sound Transit. So Derek and Mark.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Mark Madfai, Design Engineering Supervisor, one of the liaisons for the Federal Way Link extension. My counterpart, Derek Hawks, is we share that role. He's the other liaison. Derek's area is the KDM area, and my area is the Star Lake area. We kind of split at 259th Street. So Derek provided the update in April. So this update is from April until now. So got some great pictures to show you, and they made a lot of progress over the summer and took advantage of the good weather, and so a lot has happened since April. And I'll talk about some of the challenges also. You've seen this slide, I'm sure, many times before. This is just kind of general alignment of the Federal Link extension. Continues from here. Oh, there we go. Angle Lake Station continues down to the Federal Way station down here. 7.8 miles long and takes about 12 minutes on the train once it's completed. Just quickly about the station naming, I know Derek brought this up in this presentation back in April. There was some alternatives for the Kent and Moines station naming, but the board finally approved the names for the Kent and Moines station and the Star Lake station on their board meeting on May 26th. So those are the names of the stations moving forward. A little bit about permit revisions. So as part of the design build process, there's a lot of permit revisions that come in as design progresses. And so there's been about 785 for the entire Federal Way Link Extension project, about 171 permit revisions for Kent. And within those permit revisions, there's many design changes and smaller revisions that we review. Derek and I do that on a daily basis, look at them and approve them, and then those get gathered and incorporated into a permit revision. So that 171 number is a little misleading. There's many, many of those. And those revisions are ongoing through the process. There's about 168 permit revisions that are in the works. So lots going on. Kent Des Moines Station and Garage update. So a lot of the work that's happened since April is you can't see. It's all underground. Lots of utility work has happened. Water, sewer, storm drainage, communications, power, gas, all that kind of stuff underground. So a lot of that is that's nearly complete on the Kent Des Moines Station area. Structure B, which I'll show you again where that is. That deck is complete, being prepared for track. The garage concrete work is complete to the 4th level, so that's a big milestone. The garage is basically built. At least the concrete pours are completed, and the large crane is demobilized off the site. Now they're working on the canopy and some framing and whatnot on the garage. And then rail is being delivered, so that's another big milestone. There's a couple locations where they're bringing rail in and welding it together and to be able to place it up onto the tracks. That's kind of a schematic of the Kent Des Moines Station that you've seen before. North is to the left, my left, 30th Avenue, up here, Pack Highway down below, and then there's three new roads that are connecting between 30th Avenue and Pack Highway. This is kind of the general alignment. It's a little hard to read, but that's the general alignment of the Kent portion of the Federal Link Extension. Starts here at Kent Des Moines Road, continues down through this is the Kent Des Moines Station area, continues back here behind Lowe's, and continues down past the landfill, and continues all the way down to the Star Lake Station at 272nd. This is Structure B. So Structure B includes the bridge over Kent Des Moines Road, and the guideway through the station area, back behind Lowe's, and then ends at the Midway landfill. And then from the Midway landfill south, it continues kind of at grade or fill in between walls. This is a picture looking north towards KDM Road. As you can see there, the deck is complete on the guideway. The railings are in and getting ready for track. So lots of progress there. There's a picture standing on the deck. Derek and I were able to get up there and look at the deck, which is really cool. And you can see there, that's where the track's going to go. And they're starting to pour for the, they call them plinths, which are kind of like the railroad ties, but they're concrete. And those are going to go there where the rebar is sticking up, and then the rail goes on top of that. There's another picture of the track next to the station platform on the right. And another picture of the track where the tracks are coming together north of the station. And then there's the station platform. There's the north and south elevator shafts. You can see here and here, stairways in the middle, and then tracks are at either side of the station. And there's underneath, the station underneath, looking west. As you can see, they've got the stairway built, and a lot of the framing for the roofing and getting ready for the walls as well, the soffits. And another one looking south, kind of southwest at the underneath of the station area. And we're standing at about 30th Avenue right here. And so kind of, you can get an idea of what the station's going to look like. And the next slide will kind of show that. So there's a rendering I think you've seen before of that. And you can toggle back and forth. You can kind of visualize what it's going to look like. It's getting to that stage where you can see the final product. So I have some before and after pictures here from April until recently. This is one looking south over the KDM station area. Garage is there. There's the station here. This is the guideway. As you can see, they're still working on the final floor of the garage, finishing up the decking on the guideway and the station. And then here's a picture from July. This is the city's drone images here. And then there's the decking and station you can see are much further along, getting more completed, getting ready for track. And the garage is pretty much built, the concrete anyway. And then they're starting here, as you can see, just the canopy in the front, some of the framing on the top of the roof for the solar panels, and other work is going on there too. So there's another picture from April looking northeast. And then a more recent picture now looking at kind of the same angle. And it's a better picture. You can see the canopy being constructed in front of the garage and the other framing. Here's just another picture, a different angle of that. It shows the canopy well here and the framing up on the roof. Just a quick before and after of the bridge over KDM Road. On the left is April, on the right is August. As you can see, they still had formwork and completing the structure there. Now it's pretty much done. The railing is up. It's painted and pretty much done. There's Structure B guideway looking northwest. Same thing on the left side. It's still getting the formwork stripped off, and then on the right they've got the railing done and getting it finished up. There's before and after the garage from April until in July. And then here is a at-grade picture standing at 30th Avenue looking east at the garage. Left is April, right is August, so a lot's been done, mainly on the canopy and the framing and stuff. There's another picture, the one on the right. You can kind of imagine the final garage, what it's going to look like, and then there's a rendering kind of at the same angle of the garage, so it can give you a good idea of what it's going to look like. This is the elevator here. This is the main entrance for walking into the garage, and then here's that elevator here and that entrance. So. Getting to be able to envision what the final building is going to look like there. That's the roof of the garage, the framing for the solar panels. And then here's down below looking at KDM Road. They're getting it formed up for concrete. So that concrete is supposed to be being poured this week and over the next few weeks. And they'll be continuing to the south to get a concrete road along 30th Avenue. Another picture of the overall alignment in Kent. And I'll talk about structure C. And so that's outlined here, obviously. And that is a area, this is one of the city's largest wetlands. It's McSorley wetland here. As you can see, it's kind of bisected by I-5. There's a dip in the freeway there. And they're having some challenges with that area. It's a structure is intended to span over the wetland and the poor wet soils in that area. That's a picture of the structure C area looking to the north. And as you can see, the dip in I-5 there. And it's they had a plan where they were working on it, and they were working on timber pilings in this area, and to be able to prepare a road to put in the shafts and columns and whatnot in there. And they had a few blowouts, a few failures. And one of the failures, actually, they had to close a lane on I-5 until they got it shored up. So they backed off on this area. They've stopped work, and they're re-looking at some other alternatives for how to get through there. And so I hear they're close. I think they're down to 2 alternatives. I think they're close on deciding on one. But then they have to go back to the drawing board, finish the design, and then implement it. So it's definitely going to affect the schedule. It's one of Sound Transit's biggest schedule risks for the Federal Link extension. And they don't know yet how much longer it's going to go beyond the end of 24 time frame, but it will extend beyond that. And they're going to let us know as soon as they know that. So they're working on it very diligently. It's a big concern that they have. So onto the Star Lake Station area, the drainage work and walls are ongoing on 272nd. And if you've driven out there, you've probably seen some of the traffic modifications that are happening there. They've got half the roadway closed off to do drainage work and retaining walls and whatnot. Utility relocations at the station are near complete. The Star Lake Garage, 3 of the 5 floors of concrete are poured, and they're working on the remainder of the ramps and floors. Star Lake Station, the walls are nearly complete, and they're starting to backfill between the walls. And the structure Z, which is the bridge crossing 272nd, is nearly complete as well. And then here's just another kind of schematic of the station area. The north is to your left. There's I-5 up on top, 272nd. 26th Avenue is the main entrance to the station area, and there's the garage in the station. And then here's a city drone image looking southwest, back from July. As you can see the station here, they've got the walls in, and they're starting to fill in between the walls. The garage, they're getting up to the 3rd floor, constructing it, and then there's the bridge crossing 272nd is almost complete. Another picture of the bridge across 272nd. And then here's the before and after. On the left is April. They had just installed those girders then. On the right is August, and the girders are up, and the bridge is just about done. The decking is done, railings are on, it's painted and just about complete, ready for track. There's an abutment, so we're looking south. Here's the north abutment to that bridge. On the left is still under construction, getting ready for girders, and on the right it's pretty much done and waiting for the remainder of the the walls and track to come and meet it. Here's the garage looking at 26th Avenue, before and after from April to today, or August. They've just completed the 1st floor on the left, on the April picture, and ramp. Another picture of the garage looking southwest, and there's the ramp up to the 2nd floor, and on the right is the 3rd floor board. This is the station here from April. On the left, they were just forming and putting in the reinforcement for the walls. On the right, the walls are complete, and they're starting to fill in between them. So on the picture on the right is another one where you can start to visualize what the station's going to look like. And there's the station there, a rendering of it. So I'll go back and forth, kind of get an idea of what that's going to look like. And once they get the roadway in and the concrete walkways and all that stuff in, it will really give it a much more finished look. But it's that stuff goes pretty quickly, so that'll happen pretty quick. There's another one from April, and the city's drone image looking southeast. There's the garage in the station area, and I don't even think that the bridge is in yet in this picture. And then here's one from July, about the same angle. As you can see, the station areas is getting, walls are getting built here, garage is coming up, and there's the bridge. And then just a before and after of the garage from directly on top, our drone. And here's 272nd. As you can see, they have half the road closed. The north half of the road is closed, and they're building foundations for the walls. They're working on drainage. This weekend, they're going to have a closure, and they're going to bring some big drainage pipes across the road. So that work is ongoing. It'll be ongoing for many more weeks as they get these walls built. On the north side, then they'll flip over and they'll close the north lanes and river traffic over there while they build the walls on that side. So moving forward, the KDM station, continuing with the elevator and machine room, the ancillary and electrical closets as part of the station, hanging steel for the station and the platform, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing installation, and all the finish work. KDM garage, stressing the cable barriers for the kind of the barriers from the garage. Erecting the roof steel, flashing gutters, continuing work on the canopy, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and finishes on the garage. And then road work, like I mentioned, the concrete work on 30th Avenue, and then track work. And then moving forward on segment 2, the Star Lake portion, they're constructing the final walls and platform beams, pouring the slab on grade for the station, mobilizing for the ancillary building, which is just north of the station. The garage pouring the remainder of the decks and ramps there. post-tensioning those, and then continuing work on 272nd walls, and that's going to be a concrete roadway also from I-5 going down south to 26th Avenue will be concrete on 272nd. And then building the city's detention pond and just final utility work on 26th Avenue. And then I'll just talk quickly about the mitigation, traffic mitigation work. These are intersections that were identified needing improvement for the additional traffic that will be generated from when the project opens. There's 5 locations: Pack Highway and KDM Road, Military Road, and Reith Road, 272nd and Military, and then 272nd and Star Lake Road, and Pack Highway and 272nd. And we've been working closely with Sound Transit and their engineers on the design for those intersections and getting it up to a point where they can purchase right-of-way, which is really the critical path for those to get those moving forward. And we're nearly at that point now, so we're in a good spot with those. So, as I mentioned, the 2024 completion is probably going to get extended. We'll keep you posted on that, and the issues at Structure C. And then there's also a Sound Transit drone flyover that they fly a drone over the whole extent of it, which is really cool to watch. So I'll send you a link to that, and I encourage you to take a look at it. It really gives you a great perspective on the status and the progress they're making. So I'm happy to answer any questions. That's all I have.
That's a lot. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I mean, things seem to be going smooth. I mean, are there any concerns, a hiccup? I mean,
not really. Other than Structure C, I think things are going pretty smoothly. They got past the concrete strike. They're having the normal supply issues and labor shortages that everybody's facing. But I think they're such a big organization and it's such a spotlight project that they're able to keep things moving and keep it going. So I think other than the Structure C, I think they'd be really close to being on schedule.
and the relationship still going well with us in Sound Transit?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I'd love to hear that.
So far.
Well, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
We'll
trying to
knock
keep it
on
that
wood.
way.
Okay, all righty. Madam Mayor?
Thank you. Mark, in some of my conversations with Sound Transit, I'm hearing potentially more like 25 for opening. Are you guys hearing that conversation, depending on which options they choose for the span or the wall?
Yep. Yeah, sometime in 2025. But yeah, they haven't nailed down the date yet, but that's what we're expecting. Yeah.
So it definitely won't be 2024?
It definitely won't be the end of 24. They've told us that. Yeah.
All right. There is bad news.
That is some bad news. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be the bad news bringer. I was just going to ask the question and put it out there to the universe. But it sounds like the challenges there and combined with everything that, Mark, you mentioned,
Yeah,
with
I mean,
supply chain and
it's just,
concrete strike.
Exactly, yeah, all those things I think combined, but I think they were able to get past and make some progress on overcoming a lot of those things, but I think the Structure C thing really has impacted them and has really got them very alert and very concerned. So they're working hard on it.
Well, that's good. And then everyone that, right. And so we get it. Okay, any question for Mark? Oh, Councilman Finch, I'm sorry.
So is it down to just those two options for the C portion of that? Or is there a possibility that they might change the alignment a bit?
I don't think they're going to change the alignment because they've got that set already on either side. So that would be huge if they had to change the alignment. And there's really no other place for them to go. They're boxed in between the freeway on one side and the huge wetland on the other side. So I think they're going to have to stay with that alignment. They had some different alternatives for how they deal with it and get through there. And I think one of them's a long span, a very long span, like 500 feet or something like that. And the other is a series of different type of walls. So.
Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Welcome.
Look forward to keeping us posted again, okay?
We will.
Thank you, sir. Thank you as well. Derek. Okay, Our last presentation tonight is on the storm and sewer update. Jen, how you doing?
Doing fantastic.
All righty.
How are you?
We had 2 great presentations already, so let's come on and bring it home for us, okay?
I'll do my best. I've got about 400 slides we can get to.
You won't be bringing it home. You may be,
Hours, maybe?
you may be going home, not bringing it home, okay?
All right.
Less.
Well, I suppose if I have to condense it, I will.
All right.
Right on. So I appreciate this opportunity to come up and brag my staff up quite a bit. This is one of the presentations I really look forward to. Starting off right away, wipes, clogged pipes. We're going to start talking about sewer right away. In the last presentation I did, the question was asked if that slide or that picture was offered in other languages. And it is. However, it doesn't change language on the city's website. You could change language, all the other language, but that picture alone stays as it is on the website. But if we were to put it out as a flyer, we could change that language. Wipes, clogged pipes. So good news. Right there off to the right, July 2022. This is good stuff. RCW 70A.525.020 went into effect regarding the flushable wipes labeling. Section 6, beginning January 1st, 2023, no package or box containing a covered product manufactured on or before July 1st of this year will be offered for distribution in the state. I've got a feeling we're going to start seeing more states follow suit if they haven't already. That's good news. However, it's a habit that's going to be tough to break, and I've got a very colorful slide coming up for you. So I put this slide together and just showing all the different sewer pump stations, and as I was looking, I'll speed right through that slide, or maybe it'll get stuck, I don't know. It's showing all the sewer pump stations here in the city of Kent. And starting at the top, it says Frager Road, very top there. Right now, we've got a grinder project going in there. Because of the wipes issue and because of the ragging issues that we continue to have and have had, we're installing a grinder pump that'll help us chew that stuff up as it comes through. As appealing as it sounds, it's going to help a great deal. Also, what's contributing to that now is the Skyline pump station, which would be the third one down off to the left. That is no longer online. That is now flowing gravity all the way down to Frager Road. And historically, they've had a challenge with ragging also. So now we've just kind of compounded the ragging issue down at Frager Road. So that's another reason the grinder is going in to help take care of that. Kent View is no longer online. That's kind of in mothballs. That was one of the first stations that was put in for the whole Kent View project over on that side of the river. But as soon as they started expanding it, they built the Frager Road pump station, mothballed Kent View, and that entire area was flowing to Frager Road. Moving on to Linden Heights. Again, there's so many different projects at so many different stations. Linden Heights is a big one. For years, we've been trying to get that pump station replaced. It's very old. It's definitely lived a long life, but we're reaching the end of it. I think right now we're at about the 60% level as far as designs go. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. And when that station is built, that's going to be a big win for not just my sewer staff, but my pump station staff, the people that have been struggling with that old station for so long, but our design staff also. It's been. I think this is the first project that I started when I took over the manager role. I jumped into this Linden Heights pump station project, and I can't wait to see it come to fruition. This is a good thing. Jumping on down to Victoria Ridge, also known as Kentley Point, but for our staff, it'll always be Victoria Ridge Pump Station. We're starting to look at the generator and the automatic transfer switch there. Also, in another pump station that's reaching the end of its healthy life. So moving on to Horseshoe Sanitary, not a whole lot going on there, but if I had to choose the next two pump stations to get worked on after Linden Heights, it would definitely be Victoria Ridge and Horseshoe Sanitary. That station is another oldie, but right now it's still a goodie, so that's all right. The station that excites me the most right now is all the way over to the far right, the Linden Tall Pump Station. I saw that station built. I saw it go in the ground. I was there for quite a bit of it. At the time, I was a pump station technician. So this was a neat project to watch happen. It's hard to believe that we're at a point right now where it's time to start replacing things. We're putting a new roof on it right now. We're in the process of putting in a new generator and some other hardware stuff that's no longer supported by the industry, so that we don't get caught, so to speak. Heaven forbid a pump goes down and we can't find the repair parts for it. So we're going through that process right now of upgrading all those parts. And check valves down in the pump basin itself, in the bottom of that pump station, they're no longer supported. We can't get rebuild kits for them. So we're changing the valves out and getting repair kits or replacement kits for them. There's a lot of work going on all at one time right now in the sewer pump station area, and it's exciting to see. This is a good win for the sewer staff to see all this work taking place. All right, let's get over to Victoria Ridge, Kentley Point. We're going to go back to wipes, clogged pipes. Dwayne Oliver is currently our pump station technician, right? He's just doing a little bit of wet well work. What they do, they go in monthly and what they call spin the wells. They drop a nozzle in there, high pressure nozzle, get that thing fired up, and they start chewing up all the grease and all the good stuff in there so they could pump it out and clean that wet well. Well, this is what he pulled out of there. This is what didn't make it to the pumps, thankfully. Just that wad of rags and whatever else is in there alone can do quite a bit of damage to a pump. And if it gets into two pumps, it could do potentially cause some issues within the apartments up there. But he's got it out, and I just thought I'd show that one to you. Do you mind, can I leave it here for a bit, or would you rather me move on? Okay, I'll move on. I'll get it.
Madam Mayor, won't you leave it as you have a question?
You can switch the slide. Is it here or at Frager? I've heard a rumor that we're also installing some equipment called a muffin monster.
That would be the grinder down on Frager, yes.
Frager.
Yes.
So I encourage you all to look at their logo. It's kind of a funny thing. I don't know if you can see the picture here.
Google it.
But this made me laugh. So
It's got an interesting history, and I don't need to get into those details. All right, we're jumping into a sewer staff. One of the things they wanted to do this year was do a sewer replacement down on Woodford Avenue between James and was at the ballpark down there off of Woodford. Unfortunately, when they went down to pothole, the water table was still about 3 to 4 feet, which would have put their sewer project, the entire project, underwater the whole time. So we called that project off. However, their new skills got put to good use this year. Down behind the Monte Carlo, this is where this picture is taken. There was a fairly good-sized sag in the sewer line, just a little belly in the line, and in those bellies you can catch grease. It's just a good spot for stuff to settle out and cause potential blockages. What happened here is they found the belly, they put a plan together, and they went in there and replaced that section of pipe. This is the first job they did this year, and it was a fantastic project. They did a wonderful job. They ran into some groundwater issues here too, but it wasn't that bad. And the depth was a little bit more than they expected, but they have the right equipment, which is nice. So pipe repair. We had a pipe repair we had to do up behind Popeyes, that alleyway that goes between 102nd and I think the Jack in the Box, right? One of my operators was up there cleaning the line, just doing a routine cleaning, and he started pulling back debris. By debris, I mean rocks and dirt and sand. And they quickly had to get the TV truck up there to take a look. And what they found was the pipe is broken in spots. It's heavily aggregated. This concrete pipe is in terrible shape and was definitely needed to be removed. That is actually the bottom of the pipe facing up. That was, I don't know, maybe a ½ inch thick. It was failing, and their nozzle actually went down under the pipe and bored out some of the ground underneath it. So they had to go in there and pull all that stuff out and replaced it. They did a fantastic job on that also. They didn't waste any time, got in there, got all their equipment up there they needed, working within their shoring boxes for their protection. Did a fantastic job of getting in there and taking care of that sewer line. This is what the repair looks like after from the inside. You can see the old concrete line and the new PVC. In the bottom there, sometimes it's really hard to get those inverts lined up, that flow line lined up and smoothed out between the two different pipe types. Because of that, that little lip has the potential of catching things. You know, stuff will catch on that lip. We'll get into rags again and then grease and whatever else gets flushed down that sewer line. So what we've done is we've added this sewer line to the relining project that we're going to put out later on this year. So this entire sewer run will basically look brand new from the inside. It'll be seamless all the way through. No longer a lip there. They also did that with the line up at the Monte Carlo. They've added that to the relining list for the year. Moving on to drainage. Storm drainage, only rain down the drain. It's our motto. Do our best. We've got some fantastic staff, both public and private sewer inspectors do a wonderful job of educating our public. This year, we worked with the street department and design and did a storm replacement that was heavily needed down at the Mill Creek Middle School. To me, it will always be KJH. I'm sorry. I'm a vandal for life, but it's okay.
That's good.
That's right. This is at State and Pioneer. The road was in bad shape. The drainage was equally in bad shape. So we got in there before they did the repaving work and made some improvements in our drainage and rerouted a little bit of it so that we won't have the flooding there on the corner of Pioneer and State. It was a great project for the guys. It was shallow. We were able to close the roads down a little bit. You know, there was some summer school stuff going on, but we worked with the principal and the teachers to make sure that they had access to the kids. Let's talk about the bridges a little bit. Verdana. So we had two large filter vaults up there, and that's what we're looking at right here is a filter vault. This vault has 44 of those round cylinders in it, and we'll get some better pictures of that just in a second. But that was one of the structures that was identified that needed some maintenance. Those filters were full. It got to a point where they weren't working, were no longer filtering the water, so we had to go up there and remove them. Because this project is in the bridges, we invited Auburn maintenance staff up to come and take a look and see the process. They don't have anything like this in Auburn. They haven't dealt with this kind of this structure, this water treatment system. So they came up, which was great. It was good to see them. I think they had 6 people up watching the process, and they were asking great questions. So right now we've got CJ in the hole. He's doing the dirty work, really. This is it's a nasty vault. This is what the vault looks like, just completely empty. And this is a point where we get in and we pressure wash everything. In the far wall, there's a plug. All right, keeping the storm water from flowing in while we're in there working, getting the station cleaned up so we can install all the new filters. So we pulled the old ones out and installed 44 new ones. And then we pulled that plug. This thing is ready to go. It's filtering water again. All right, we're treating our storm water.
What's the cost of the filter? Just curious.
What's that?
What are the costs on a filter? Do you know per?
I don't have that right now. Okay. One of our biggest projects of the year is our HPA work that we do during August, basically. And this is a picture of the pond at Earthworks, one in the far east of the park there. Looking back toward Titus would be way up front there. There was a lot of material in there. We had a lot of gravel, a lot of sedimentation, some vegetation stuff, but not too bad. And honestly, this year we didn't have a whole lot of garbage thrown in there, which was nice. I think we were down to probably a third of our total storage capacity in that pond, which means that the pond is doing its job. That gravel and that sedimentation that's in there right now in this picture is supposed to be in there. The pond is working correctly. And boy, we took a lot of stuff out of there. This is just our process. We dewater the pond. We catch all the fish that are in there. And there were a ton of fish this year. I wish I got a good enough picture. We had big nets, and we were just dumping them into the buckets, putting them downstream in the cleaner water, right? Our goal is always no fish kill, and we had a fantastic fishing season in here this year. So after we dewater the best we can, we start loading it up. We get our dump trucks out there. We start scooping that stuff up and hauling it over to the Vactor site, where we we dump it out and just let it dry. We dump it out and just let it sit where it lays. And then when the project is over, we'll go in there with a loader or whatever, push everything up and straighten the site out. But man, there was so much material this year. I do think, and I say this every year, but we had the most material I've ever seen in that pond this year. You guys did a fantastic job. Moving on just up the street was over the Titus Street culverts, the twin culverts that go from Earthworks Park down into the senior center area. This is another one that we do yearly. We have to set up bypass pumping. So what we do is we get, I don't know how many hundreds of feet of hose we got sitting out there, but that's out in that big grassy area out in the senior center area, that property. So we pump the water out of our job site so that we can remove, again, sedimentation and gravel. This is a great picture of what we dealt with down there this year. We're looking at a pipe that was probably half full, right? And part of the process, once we get everything bypassed, there's no more water flowing through there, we clean it up with a Vactor truck. We'll go in there with our rodder and just start pulling debris out to the excavator, where he's picking it up and putting it in the truck and hauling it off. This is a very successful project this year. You guys did wonderful. Garrison Creek and 212th. This is over just next to Winco, off of 212th. There's a large culvert that flows under 212th, and well, it's supposed to carry Garrison Creek through. However, the last few years we've been having to go in August when we do our other HPA work and clean that 4-foot culvert. Right now, there's probably, at this project, they probably had at least 4 feet of material stacked up in front of that pipe. And that included our plunge pool was completely full. It was level all the way across. There was a lot of material in there. But fortunately, they were able to get in there and clean it all out successfully. It was a good project. And before we shut down, I want to talk about that picture right there. I'm sorry, in the bottom right, that's where you see the wall of material that's built up, right? On the back side of that would have been a plunge pool. That pool was filled up also. And the nice thing about this project is we don't have to haul that material off site. And truthfully, logistically, that would be extremely tough to do anyway. But they pile it up and then they spread it out before we leave. It'll dry out, and then we'll cover it with our BMPs. That's the site, the way we left it. When the work was done, they covered it with straw, had their straw wattles in there, and made sure that they covered their tracks leaving the project. I was hoping to get you guys a warm, fuzzy picture this year. Last year, I was able to do that. We had Josh, the duck whisperer, that will never fear. He had a few occasions this year where he got to practice his craft, and he did a wonderful job. This is just a picture of my staff smiling. Out there working and having a good time. You're going to be hard-pressed to find those guys out there working when they're not happy. You walk into their show-up room, and they're having a good time. They're laughing. They're upbeat. They're ready to go to work. These guys love their job, and they do a darn good one. And with that, I don't have anything else for you. Open to questions.
Well, you didn't let me down. You did a good job of closing it. So we 3 great presentations tonight. And, I know sometimes we take things for granted, just don't know what goes behind the scene. And, this city did a really good job of being proactive, right? Making sure things are taken care of before it's too late. So outstanding presentation.
Yes, sir.
Learned a lot. So, council member, any question, concern? Will you agree? He closed it up well?
Yeah, good job.
Okay, thumbs up.
All
okay.
right. Wonderful.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, guys, we're going to take a break here until 7 and grab something to eat. Thank you. We'll adjourn.